Hello, everyone. This is Deacon Adam with Stories That Work. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to share those. Hopefully, everybody can hear me. I'm not having a guest today because I have some information I want to go through that did not involve guests. I do have stories that work, and so I'm going to share some of that. But I have my own story that I'm going to share, and it relates to an event that's coming up. And so I've mentioned this each time as a reminder that on Saturday, October 19th, we're doing a digital evangelism conference. It will be virtual, so everybody can come. It's free, so I hope that means it's highly accessible. It's online and it's free, so everybody can participate. I don't expect you to sit there for 4 hours, and I think I will be the only one sitting there for 4 hours going through this. My goal is that you'll look at the schedule of speakers and topics and go, oh, I might be interested in that one and that one over there and maybe that one at the end, that kind of thing. And so it's a speed conference. If you're not familiar with a speed conference, the format is different. And so I want to give you some details on the conference, why we're putting together, how it relates to Stories That Work. And then I'm going to share my own story that works that's about Facebook. And so I have a Facebook story that I'm going to share. And so to get started, basically a speed conference means that it goes rapidly. Speed obviously makes sense. But what you're going to see is something a little unusual when we hear the word conference. What we're actually going to do is have the presenter talk for 15 minutes only. So they're really going to be covering the highlight. Think of this conference as like a broad spectrum view on digital evangelism in the Orthodox Church. And then from there, you'll get an idea of what you might be interested in, where you need more help. If you're doing a great job at Facebook or email or blogging, you can ignore those. I mean, you might want to watch them later on because we're going to record it. But the idea is that you can get some insights on areas that you need help. And so that's why we have 8 speakers with 8 topics. There's a diverse range. And I think we've brought together people who know what they're talking about in that area. This is not something that we just found some random people to talk about. Each person has some expertise in that area. And so I want to explain what that looks like. The first topic that we're going to go through is online etiquette. And if you've spent a little bit of time in social media or on the internet and concerning the Orthodox faith, it doesn't take long to sadly find some people who are not behaving appropriately and really kind of embarrass us a little bit as Orthodox Christians, or just even the Christian faith in general. They're argumentative, they're yelling, according like all caps, they're mean, they're defensive, they're just all sorts of negativity. And so we have Dr. Gary Jenkins is going to be speaking on online etiquette and what it looks like in this virtual world where we've forgotten that we still need to act like that person's right next to us, that our priest is next to us, that God is watching, our guardian angel is watching. How are we interacting with these people? So I think Dr. Gary Jenkins is going to do an incredible job. He touched on this briefly on the Areopagus podcast hosted by Ancient Faith Radio. And so I think he's going to do an excellent job. But basically what he'll do is he'll talk for 15 minutes. Then he'll have 10 minutes of Q&A. And then there'll be a 5-minute break until the next speaker. Each of our speakers are going to provide a free PDF download of their presentation plus any extra information that you're interested in. The second speaker is actually me, and it's on websites. And the only reason I put my name in there, I was trying to stay off the list. But in case you didn't know, I wrote an ebook and a bonus chapter on Orthodox websites for the Assembly of Bishops when they did the first national study on evangelism in North America. And the coordinator of that, the official research coordinator of the Assembly of Bishops, Alexei Krindach, who I think does phenomenal job with research and statistics in North America Orthodoxy. I recommend you check that out. He asked if I would do the chapter on websites. He wanted me to evaluate the 76 churches that were involved, evaluate how evangelistic their website was. And so we came up with some criteria, some some measurements, because we didn't want it to be just my opinion. We wanted it to be very objective. So we came up with a list of what I would look for, and then he asked me to write a bonus chapter on what makes a great parish website. That also turned into an ebook that's available on Amazon. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what's the point of the website for the church, and some different ways that possibly we might be misusing that, and how do we turn that ship around, because it can be difficult depending on how far down the path we are to make some changes. After that, we're going to have Father James Gerges, who is the pastor of St. Raphael in the Raleigh area of North Carolina, talk about blogging. He's been blogging for a long time. He blogs his homily. He's going to talk about what got him started, why he does it, generating content for his blog. And I think that what's impressive with Father James is the longevity, that he has picked a blogging perspective that's sustainable. I blogged for about 3 years, and I barely blogged, and then I was done. I was like, I can't do that. And he's been doing this for quite some time. I estimate maybe 10 years in the ballpark. He'll let us know exactly how long, I don't know. But he's been doing it since he was in Utica, New York, when he was assigned up there. Now he's down in North Carolina. So I'm very excited for him to bring the expertise about the value of sustainable blogging and generate content for long term. The next speaker after that is actually going to be Father Patrick Cardine, who is in Bealton, Virginia. And Father Patrick has been podcasting his homilies for a while at orthodoxwest.com. And you can see quite a few episodes there of him generating this. And that also takes some sustainability. I know that we have a number of clergy who are broadcasting their homilies on Ancient Faith Radio. A number of us probably have our favorites. I have a couple of my favorites. And it takes a lot of effort and focus to keep that up weekly. And so we're going to have Father Patrick talk about what that's like to keep up that focus, that effort, the value of podcasting and his content and what that looks like. After that, we're going to move over across the country from Virginia to Alaska and hear from Father Matthew Howell, who's up in the Anchorage area. He's not in Anchorage. He lives in Eagle River, and he's the pastor of St. Herman's in Wasilla, Alaska. And he's going to talk about email, because he has something he's been doing for a while with email that is quite nice. And hopefully he'll share an opportunity for us to participate in his email project that's been ongoing, and the value of email both to your parish and outside the parish. He has a ministry that's rather large at this point that I don't think it's all Orthodox at this point, and it's kind of hard to say, but his email ministry keeps growing. I've heard great things about it from others. I actually heard about his ministry, not even from him, from someone else. So the word gets around about what Father Matthew is doing. The next session after Father Matthew Howell is Father Andrew Jarmus. And Father Andrew is going to talk about, I met him at a recent OCA Parish Development Forum that took place in Pennsylvania. I took my wife with me. You heard me talking about that. And Father Andrew was so impressive with his social media starter kit. And he covered a whole lot of material. And so, I mean, we could easily just have him talk for 4 hours, and that would be quite valuable. But what I asked him to do was review the social media starter kit and also go into a little more in depth in Instagram. He has some great information about Instagram, the value of Instagram to a church in terms of its outreach and evangelism. And so he's going to focus more there in terms of one particular social media. After that, we're going to travel over to Prescott, Arizona with Kenny Scott. And you've seen Kenny on before. He talked about his welcome ministry at St. George in Prescott, Arizona. And the other thing that he's done as part of that welcome ministry is that he has a pretty robust Facebook approach for the church in terms of ad campaigns and responses and meme generation and all sorts of stuff. And so he sent me his outline. It's the longest outline I've seen so far. There's so much in there. I think you're going to be blown away by all the information that Kenny has to share with Facebook. This is something that he's been testing heavily for a while and can really show why we're using Facebook, what to expect from it, and some false expectations that we need to correct and be careful about. The final session Kenny is the next to last. The final session is going to come from Father Anthony Messa, who's also back over in the Virginia area, back where Father Patrick Cardin is. And Father Anthony, in case you're not aware of him, he's a priest in the Coptic Church. I've been friends with him for a few years. We met at the Antiochian House of Studies. We went through St. Stephen's together. And he has Periscope. And if you don't know what Periscope is, before there was Facebook Live, what I'm talking on right now, there was Periscope, and that was the easiest way to go live. And he has about 20,000 followers on Periscope, which is quite impressive. And I interviewed him not long after that on my radio show that I had, my podcast Go Forth, when we were on Ancient Faith Radio. And I wanted to bring him back to talk about a topic that we talked about then, but we didn't go into detail at that time. But what he's going to be talking about is online discernment. Discerning what, the first question is, should I even be on social media or on the internet, engaging in these ways? If I should be on here, what does that ministry look like? And I think a lot of us assume that that's just part of today's society, is that you're on social media. And I can tell you that there's a number of people that are exiting for spiritual reasons, and they're never going to go back. The first person I'll talk about is my wife. She exited social media several years ago, and she said what it did for her spiritually, it changed everything, and she has no reason to go back, because she's actually gone back a couple of times for one particular reason. I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't to poke around, but she said within a day that she had gone back, she was reminded of why she got off. And what she's talking about is that basically Facebook was invoking the passions in her, and that we don't realize how easily our online engagement can invoke the passions. And so we need to be discussing this with our father confessor and saying, this is how I act online. What do you think of that? Not all clergy should feel called to be online. And this is something that Father Anthony is really good at, that helping some clergy understand they should be on there, and other clergy saying it's okay if you don't feel called to be on there. That's all right. You have a parish, you have a community that you're ministering to, and so you shouldn't feel obligated to be online. Not every priest has to be online. That's okay. And he's really good at delivering that message. So that's our lineup. And what I want to do is talk about a specific story related to digital evangelism. And there's two parts of this story. The first part actually started with a lady that I'll call Kimberly. And Kimberly had posted, she had posted a blog about her faith crisis, and that she had been struggling with her faith crisis. And then she posted a link to it and a summary of this on Facebook. And she actually got some negativity from people at her church, which was very sad. The church she was at, I think, had about 300 people at the time. And she said out of the 300 people, only two, not all of them were negative, obviously, but she had quite a bit of negativity, but only two people, which was the minority, reached out in kindness and said, "How are you? I'm so sorry that you're having this struggle. If there's anything I can do, please let me know." And I thought that was kind of depressing, that that's what happened when someone admits that they're having a faith crisis, they're admitting they're struggling, that instead of receiving some kindness and some encouragement, she received negativity and chastisement. I don't say this to brag. I say this in embarrassment, actually, that I was one of the two people, and that's how I found out. When I reached out to her and saw her online post, I told her that I was happy to talk with her or pray with her, or anything she needed, let me know, and that I really hope that some loving people can come around her and help her through this. And that just wasn't the normal message she was getting from her church at the time. And so I think there was other people, because she posted online, the negativity probably didn't come just from her church. But I wanted, that was a reminder of how difficult it is to do a kind thing, that we need to remember to do this to everyone around us, to my wife, to my kids, to my friends, that those acts of kindness make a difference, that when someone publicly says they're hurting, that act of kindness does matter. Even if they turn you down, it matters. I know it matters. And that I'd rather us be known for people who tried and were turned away than never trying at all. And so that there are a lot of people online admitting they're hurting. And we can reach out and say, is there something I can do? Is there some way that I can pray for you? Would you like to go get coffee? Is there something I can do in that act of kindness instead of just ignoring what's going on? The other thing I want to talk about related to Facebook, and it's similar to this, is that basically I have some statistics here. This is related to getting visitors. So this is a little more positive. That was kind of a little tearjerker there for a minute. So I want to switch to something a little more on the upbeat for this next one. But I don't know how many of you are familiar with Facebook Check-in. And Facebook Check-in is an extremely powerful tool. I try to use it every time I go to my church or someone else's churches. I try to check in on Facebook. And what it means is that I have voluntarily told everyone around me that I like this place in some way, that, some way I have a positive affection for this place. Facebook, their algorithm for check-ins is rather complicated, but I do know that more of your friends will see a check-in than anything else. On average, more than 200 of your friends will see a check-in. And so the key here is that all of our parishioners are checking in when they show up to services, especially Sunday morning, but Saturday night's great, Wednesday night great, any special services, baptisms, weddings, funerals, whatever's happening at your church. Go to the Facebook page and check in and say why you're there, or say a simple message about why you're there. If it's a regular Sunday morning, say, I'm looking forward to worshiping God and fellowship with some close friends, or just some kind of heartfelt message. But I think it's important for you to know that Facebook values these check-ins because you can't buy them. There are Facebook ads. We see the Facebook ads when you're scrolling through your news feed, and people pay for that, but they can't pay for check-ins. And so when you check in at your church, over 200 of your friends see that. And not only do they see it, it's the ones in the area that see it, because they know that the check-in is geographically centered. So if I check in Nashville at a church, they're not going to show it to Seattle usually. And I mean, it's Facebook algorithm, so it's not perfect. I think Facebook's almost perfect. I'm just kidding. But what they're trying to do is generate interest in that location, generate engagement online. And so what they're going to do is show that check-in to my friends in the Nashville area and let them know that I checked in and why I checked in and what I said in my comment. And they're going to do that over just a regular status update. Because what they think is if you check in, you must really like that place. And that your friends might really like that place. Your family might like that place. Your coworkers might like that place. And so they promote it. And so this is how our churches can take advantage of this opportunity that's available out there and get involved with Facebook check-ins. There's a ton of value in doing this, and you can't do it too much. I also recommend there's some in-depth things we can do with check-in to take it a step further. There's little campaigns that you can do that don't cost a lot. Tell your church, if you're a priest or your parish council president and you have an opportunity to get the word out about your church. One of our biggest problems that nobody knows that our churches exist. And so we need to get the word out. One of the cool things you can do is a good works campaign with Facebook check-in. And what it is you tell parishioners, say, and you pick the dollar, you pick the budget, you say, every time you check in, we're going to donate $1 or $5 or $10 to a specific charity. And then after you do that, you let them know they can share that online. There's nothing wrong with that. And so if I go to my church and I check in, I go, hey, I'm checking in because every time I check in at my church donates $10 to such and such charity. And then people like that. They're like, oh, your church is doing good work. Your church gives back to the community. I think it really helps too. And there's two key things that I'll recommend here. If it's a local charity that matters to the local community, there's nothing wrong with international stuff. I think international important, but keep that in mind that a lot of your locals care about what's happening locally. The other thing is that it's almost a guaranteed positive impression if you're helping children in some way. So many of the different charities get politicized in some way, which is very sad when they're doing something that's non-political. But it's very hard to politicize a nonprofit doing something for children. And so like an orphanage or different things like Boys and Girls Clubs, that kind of thing, anything that's geared towards children, it's a little easier to promote that, and you're less likely to get pushback from someone saying, oh, did you know that charity does this or it does that? And, we're trying to just do some good here. So those are the basics that I want you to keep in mind. I have a lot more details. I don't have time to share all the details. I've been talking straight for 25 minutes. I can keep going, but I have more information on this if you want it. I've typed up about 2 pages of data on Facebook check-ins because I really think it matters. I think it makes a difference. I want everyone to know what I'm checking in, especially want the people I'm friends with. I have a lot of non-Orthodox friends on my Facebook lead, and I'm okay with that. And I try not to berate them, but I think they would think it's interesting when I check in to a service and I mention that, if there's a good works campaign that's going on. And so these are some ways that we can make a difference, get the word out. And like I said, the key problem that we have with most of our churches is that our communities don't even know we exist. This is one of the fastest, cheapest, and good ways, good and noble, to get the word out that we are here in the community and that we're giving back to the community and that we enrich the community, that we're a part of the community, we care about it, and we want to have a holy presence. We want to be a benefit to everyone around us. And so these Facebook check-ins let everyone know that we exist. Adding the Good Works campaign, let everybody know that we actually enrich the community and that we are here to express God's love through good works, through acts of mercy. So I hope if you have any questions, feel free to comment. Hopefully I'll see that. Feel free to message us through the Antiochian message page. But just keep in mind those 2 things. The first story was about Kimberly, who, when she shared her struggle of faith online, she received a lot of negativity from Orthodox Christians instead of acts of kindness and saying, how can we help you? How can we love on you? How can we help you not feel alone? And then the second thing is that it's the Facebook check-ins, getting the word out that we do exist, we are present, and we're helping the community by our presence. Look forward to seeing all of you on October 19th at the Digital Evangelism Conference. I'm so excited. We have, I'm working on 2 more conferences. Another one's virtual, and then another one is a live action. I don't know what you call regular conference. I'm so stuck in movie mode. It's like, is it animated? Is it virtual? Is it live action? It's a live action conference. It's going to take place in a real city in America at a real time. So I've been hinting about this. We're even closer now. We're about to release some information about it. But this live action conference on missions and evangelism will be taking place in May. And you'll be seeing an infographic coming out either this week or next week with some more details about the location, some of the speakers that we got lined up for it, the actual dates. And I'm so excited because I haven't been involved in a missions evangelism conference before in terms of like helping put it on. I've been to a few, but I've never helped put one on. And I just love events. I love helping with events. So this is going to be exciting. So that's it for today. I hope you don't mind that I didn't have a guest, but I had some specific stories, and I try to limit how much I'm on here talking without a guest because I don't think I have the best story all the time. But this was some stuff that I've been waiting and sitting on, and I wanted to share. So next week, we'll be back with another guest. And until that time, God bless.